I've been making so many videos about what it's like to live in the consciousness of the fifth dimension, being in a place of unconditional love as much as you can, and being in a really high vibrational state. And as I'm in conversations with people and noticing and reflecting and observing, especially after one particular conversation that I had a couple of weeks ago, I noticed that there's predominantly one thing that is slipping people up. They might be meditating, they're journaling, they're doing the inner work. Their focus, their intention is to be loving and kind. But then there's this one thing, this one thing that when you do it, it just brings you right back into the 3D. And it's so quick that I think oftentimes people don't realize what's happening, but it is. So I want to talk about that one thing today, and it is judgment. Being judgmental of others, and perhaps even being judgmental of yourself, being too hard on yourself, because sometimes we're hard on ourselves before we are hard on other people, right? I know that to be true for myself oftentimes. So I'm going to give you three things that you can do because we are all either going to be hard on ourselves or tend to judge other people, even though we might have the best of intentions. And sometimes it's not so much that we're judging someone, but I also see that it's common to group people into segments of society or into categories, if you will. And even that is making a judgment about someone's character. So, what can we do if we're wanting to be in this fifth dimensional, unconditional love, high vibration, and we're aware that, oops, I'm making a judgment. I'm maybe you're comparing yourself to somebody else. You're comparing that person to you. And you don't really mean to, maybe, but you're thinking that that person is not, maybe they're not good enough, they're not right enough. Maybe it's a political statement, because you have to remember that all of those things that are of the 3D world, politics, our financial system, the education system, the religious situation, right? All of those things that are either you're in my group or you're not in my group. All of those things are of the 3D world. So again, you can be wanting to be in that fifth dimensional state of consciousness of unconditional love, but when you observe and the condition of right versus wrong or you versus me, it takes you right back in. And again, that's usually when someone is making a judgment of somebody else. So, three things that we can do. One, it all starts with awareness. We know that. Two, it's reflection. And three, it is unification. So, real quick, I'm going to give you three things that you can do when you find yourself having the intention of wanting to be in unconditional love and kindness and the beauty and the joy and the bliss of that. And you find that you are making a judgment, or you're looking at someone in a certain way that is not serving you. You can notice, again, awareness, and you can, in that awareness, make the observation. I am aware of the thought. However, we want to create a space. I am not going to identify with that thought. So it's very simple. You can even do some breath work with that. Breathe in. I am not the thought. Hold, create space between the thought and yourself. And then breathe out, I am not the thought. So again, breathing in, you've made a judgment. Oops. Breathing in, I am not the thought. Hold, create a space between yourself and the thought. Create that separation. And then exhale, I am not the thought. That's one thing that you can do. Number two, reflection. Think about that judgment that you just had regarding this person. Take out your journal and reflect and ask yourself this question. What does this judgment that I just had, what does this judgment reflect about me? What is this judgment mirroring about myself? And I think that you'll have some deep reflection there. The third thing that you can do is, again, is for unification. It's a short breathing exercise that you can do. You've made a judgment, or perhaps someone has triggered you, right? We all have people that trigger us at times. So say someone's triggered you, or you've made a judgment. I want you to take a breath in and think of that person. And then as you breathe out, say to yourself, we are one. Breathe in. Think of that person. And I'll go even a step further. Think of that person with love in your heart. And as you breathe out, say, we are one. This reminds me of Dolores Cannon said this. I know that I heard her say it one time, and I'm going to paraphrase. But Dolores Cannon said something like, why are we judging other people? Because we've been, in all of our lifetimes, we've been every race. We've lived on every continent. I'll go further. We've lived on every planet and in every galaxy. So who are we to judge? We've been it all, and we are one. Now, finally, I want to read to you a quote by Abraham Hicks. I think it brings it all together very lovely. Abraham says, see this world as a free world, and see everyone in it as trying through their individual experiences to find their way back to that calling, back to that source energy. And even though there are billions of them going about it in a way that is different than you would choose, there is no right or wrong way. In other words, bless them all and get on with the only thing that you have any power about, which is opening or closing your vortex to your natural state of well-being. Again, that was Esther, aka Abraham Hicks. That's what we have control over, our connection to source, our higher self. That's what we have the power to do. So what if we were to focus more on that? One of the things that I learned in my spiritual journey as I was trying to figure this all out, because I didn't have a spiritual guide except for my higher self, was that when it came to the last little bit of judgment that I recognized in myself, it was simply those people on the streets. The people on the streets that were specifically begging for or asking for money. And that just triggered something in me because I've always been a hardworking person. And while I know that, yes, sometimes people can have hard times, definitely. But when you see the same people there day after day with the same sign, you kind of get to wonder. And I would make a judgment about that, about those people. And finally, what I did was I blessed them. Every time I would see someone on the street with a sign, and I still do it today, I just see them and I say, bless, bless them, bless you. I don't know their situation. I'm not them. I'm me. I have control over what I have control over, which is my life, creating my reality and my connection to my higher self. That's what I have control over. So in the next video, I would like to talk a little bit more about that, about how you can connect with your higher self more. If that's something that interests you, please let me know in the comments below. And I can't wait to talk to you soon. Take care.